hopefully. So we are live. Hello, my gorgeous people. I am just double checking that this is actually showing up where it's supposed to. Drop me a wee hello and let me know you are here. Yep, we're in the right place. Good, it's working. As you can see, I'm not alone today. I have the gorgeous Tina with me, who I have known for a little while through various business groups, essentially. We're both self-employed folks, so we've kind of met that way. And last week I had posted something, and what was the post? Acupuncture or massage was the post, if I remember rightly. And Tina very cleverly went, well, I don't know, because I don't know anything about acupuncture. So we got to chatting about it and then thought, actually, it makes sense to share this with everyone. Because it's questions, as I was just saying to Tina, it's the kind of thing that I've been doing it for so long that I forget that people don't know these things because it's new to them. So this is the perfect way to make sure that I stay on track and that I don't waffle about stuff that people aren't interested in by having the gorgeous Tina ask me lots of questions. So I'm going to scratch my nose first of all and then hand over to Tina, who can ask away and I will answer to the best of my ability.
Great. Thank you so much, Paula. Thanks for taking the time to answer my questions today. So I'm just going to get straight into the questions. They're very basic. They're the kind of thing that I know a lot of people want to ask, but probably don't. And without the answers to them, really, people like me don't get any further to understanding what the benefits might be. So the first one is, I know it involves needles. Does it hurt?
Now, do you know, I asked this question on my Facebook page yesterday because my answer is always no, but you can feel it. So it's that thing of, it depends how you define hurt. You're aware that something is happening to you, but it's not painful. Our experience of needles typically up until the point of acupuncture is actually a syringe. So, you know, when you go to the dentist or the doctor, they're either putting something into you with your inoculations, etc., or taking something out in terms of removing blood, etc. So it's a big tube. An acupuncture needle is so tiny that you can fit approximately 30 acupuncture needles inside the whole of a syringe.
Okay.
So they're much, much smaller.
Right.
Almost everyone's response was, no, I don't feel it at all. A couple of people said, you can feel a tiny nip, but then it goes away. So it doesn't last any length of time. So it's more a strange feeling. The most common sensation people feel when they're having acupuncture is tingling or a sense of their body being really heavy. Yeah. So there's no, I wouldn't describe either of those things as pain, but there's sensation.
Okay, great. That's a great answer. Thank you. Yeah. So what about, so my second question then is about if someone experienced pain, and I know you've said it's like a nip, but if someone did experience it as pain, because pain is quite a difficult thing, we can't really measure it, can we? And we all have different experiences of what pain is. So if someone felt they were in pain, would you stop the treatment?
Absolutely.
So you just stop. They thought that.
Absolutely. The first thing I would do is adjust the needle. So it might be that the angle of the needle is not quite right. So a tiny little adjustment, and almost invariably any kind of weird sensation or anything that's uncomfortable will disappear. But if ultimately you're like, nope, this is not for me, I'm not going to force you. So I will more than happily remove the needles and let you get on your way. I'm not into forcing people into stuff.
So there's a kind of adjustment option then of like getting it right for the person, is there?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with the question I know you've got for later, that's also why there's lots of different systems.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So that's great. Thank you. So it's making a lot more sense already, even just two questions. So the third question is, how long is an acupuncture session?
Okay, that varies hugely. I can only speak from my personal experience. The minimum I will do a treatment for is 20 minutes of needle retention. That's the minimum. But I will go up to a full hour's appointment, and that allows for a roughly 40 minutes worth of treatment time as well. So that's when you get to lie on the bed, have a snooze, and basically, just most people snooze during treatments. And it just gives the body that chance to switch off, shut down, and start healing. So I tend to work to hour appointments, but up to 40 minutes of that will be actual needle time. And then there's other things that we can do as well. Part of acupuncture is not just about needles. We also offer lifestyle advice. We do a particular type of massage. We do a thing called gua sha, cupping. So all those things are added into that hour's appointment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the actual needle retention.
Sorry.
No, sorry. The actual needle retention, minimum 20 minutes, but we're often around 40-ish.
So actually, much more of a holistic experience, really, isn't it, then?
Yes,
rather than just a session with needles, it's actually much more than, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go back to this thing again about the needles.
Yes.
You can see a theme running here with me.
Absolutely.
And I don't, do you know what? I actually don't mind needles. Like, I'm quite happy for someone to take blood, and I've had a tattoo. Although actually I did nearly pass out and have to go to the pub immediately after the tattoo. But I don't actually have a problem with needles. But so it's quite weird that I've got quite a fixed mindset about this, and that I've not allowed myself until now to really, you know, ask about it.
Yeah, that's fairly common. I think our experience of needles generally, as I said earlier, is not typically a pleasant one. You know, the giving blood, the dental stuff where you're going to feel a wee nip, and they use the word wee nip, and it's far more than a wee nip.
Yeah. It's possible that in the past, I don't quite remember it, but someone said this won't hurt, and it did. Yeah. When I had a needle, you know, at some point, and maybe I've just, you know, fixed it in my mind, and I just think about the needles. So my next question then is, so say you're in the middle of a session, and then someone's like, oh, actually this is really uncomfortable, or I'm not okay, and you do stop because you said you'd stop. Would you kind of resume again? Would it? No, so what I'm trying to find out is, would it be effective, or is there, like you said, there's like 20-minute minimum? Do you need to have done the 20 minutes to actually really start to get the benefits from it?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's that balance, isn't it? If somebody's incredibly uncomfortable, then nothing that I do is going to make them feel better. Do you know? So it's finding that balance, and it's not, nothing is for everyone. That's one of my big things about that. You know, so there's some people, and to be fair, and I've been in practice now for 13 years, and there's one person that I told them acupuncture wasn't for them.
Oh.
Because they couldn't get over the needle part of it. They just couldn't get past it. And I'm like, you're making yourself worse by trying to force yourself into it. Why don't you try? And suggested some other therapies for them. But 1 in 13 years, I think, is not bad odds.
That's amazing. That's pretty amazing, actually. And I guess now, just hearing that, I'm thinking somebody who might be really anxious might, you know, I think for me, more kind of, I don't know, just the questions that have come up for me, I think, is because, like, I'm the kind of person that if you flick my skin, I feel like you just punched me.
Okay.
So I've got that kind of sensation about me. I don't know what you call that. I've no idea what it is. But quite easily, someone could. I do feel pain.
How are you with massage?
Initially, not great. Initially, I feel like people are really hurting me, but then actually, I get into it, you know. And my favorite one is the hot stone. So the warmth seems to really help. It's
been soothing.
Yeah, definitely. But initially, the initial kind of touch, I'm like, oh, ow, that hurts, you know. Yeah. Okay, so what do people actually have acupuncture for?
I could go on forever, to be honest. There's the general gist is, you name it. You name it, we can treat it. The most common things, I'll take my diary over the last week, for example. So we've had some back pain, some sciatica, some knee pain, some loads at the moment, to be honest. And I think everyone's feeling it. Lots of anxiety treatment and lots of fear and sliding into depression a little bit, but it seems to be more anxiety than anything at the moment. So lots of anxiety treatment as well. It's very good, not only for physical ailments, but also supporting your mental health as well. Somebody, what else have I had this week? Allergies, somebody with systemic allergies that affect their body in a lot of different ways. Menstrual issues. I've got somebody with a condition called polycystic ovarian syndrome at the moment. This is just the last week.
Wow.
What else have we had this week? Oh, migraines. There's always somebody in for some sort of headache treatment. Every single week without fail, I'll have back pain, knee pain, and headaches. Insomnia. I think that's it for this week. We're only on Wednesday.
Wow. You know what? I have all of those. Back pain, lower back pain. I get headaches, I think, just staring at screens. And also, my left knee kind of tends to swell up on the front. So I seem to get those 3 things. But that was quite interesting what you said about the allergies as well. So this wasn't in my original question list, but it's really a pressing question now. Where do you put these needles? So, for example, someone comes to you with migraines and you're going to use acupuncture. Where are you going to put the needles?
actually varies from person to person. So it's not that every person that presents with a migraine will get the exact same thing, because it depends what's going on underneath. So it varies hugely, but as a general gist for almost all treatments, we're looking at roughly elbows down. I'm trying to get my arm on the screen. So from elbows down. So quite often either inside wrist or the side of the wrist. They're quite common. They're really good for mental health points, actually. Depends what they're in for. So if it was like hay fever type allergies, if it was really sinusy stuff, they'd be around the forehead and around the nose as well. Mask allowing, it depends what's going on at the moment, what we're allowed to do with that, because the mask doesn't move at the moment. But also, even so, for blocked sinuses, for example, there's 2 points at the back of the head that clear the sinuses, that drain the sinuses. So typically, basically everywhere, stomach, back, lower legs. It's usually roughly knees down and roughly elbows down, unless it's something specific. So I had somebody yesterday who had a shoulder issue, so with needles in the shoulder, as well as other things as well, because it's about treating the root cause, not just the area of pain. The area of pain is a symptom. It's getting to the root of it, and that's what the other stuff does.
So that's why it's much more about holistic and mind and body and everything.
Absolutely,
the root cause of it. So actually, what's interesting about this then is that the needles don't necessarily go where I would, as a non-practitioner, where I would think the pain stems from, because you're looking at the root of something. So for like kind of anxiety or something, you might be going here.
Yeah. Typically, there's a beautiful one just in here. Where's the camera? That way. Just in the inside there. And if you're using your thumb, you're actually going to get 3 acupuncture points. And all 3 of them help. The phrase we would use is calm the spirit. So it's that idea of just settling us down a bit. And all 3 of them in there do that. But other ones in the same area do similar.
Do you remember that you posted something about that? Just holding that there.
Yeah.
I think that might have been the first ever post that I saw of yours. Or it was the first time that I thought, wow, that's really cool. She knows some really cool stuff. It worked. And I remember writing and going, oh, that was really cool, or something. But that was when that's my first memory of you, is that actually. That's a good
memory. Yeah.
I remember you for that. Okay, so does it leave marks?
No.
No.
The short answer is no. Oh. You will very occasionally. So on an average week, I use around 1,000 needles. So it's 1,000 different places on a week. And I bruise, maybe I have 1 bruise once a month. So that's about that's the most common. So it'll very occasionally leave a bruise. So at 4,000 needles, there's maybe 1. I think that's not bad odds. Other than that, no. You might see a tiny little bit of redness around the skin for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour after the treatment. But other than that, no. Almost invariably, you can't tell.
Do you find then that some people would bruise more than others?
Some do, yeah. Interestingly, it tends to be the people who tell me that they bruise really easily that never bruise, and the ones that say they don't bruise that will get 1, just 1.
Yeah. I kind of it hurts, but probably, somebody would give me a massage, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have to have, I've got 3 more questions actually.
That's fine.
Do you have to have more than 1 session for it to work? When I say for it to work.
Yeah, typically yes.
Right.
It's a bit like taking, anything actually. If you go to the gym once, you're not magically, I'm trying to think of a really buff person right now. It's gone completely out of my head. You're not The Rock because you go to the gym once. Do you know, it requires a commitment. Yeah. And to help almost, the way I think of acupuncture is that it's a communication with the body and encouraging the body to fix itself because it's got into bad habits, if you like. Right. Huge oversimplification, but we'll go with that. So we need to basically unwrap all those habits that you've developed that aren't helpful and then rebuild your system back up again. So usually I would say a minimum of 4 sessions before you start to feel the benefit. Depends what's going on. If you've had back pain for 20 years, it's not going to go away in 2 days. Do you know, it depends what's going on. If you've only had it for half an hour, then 1 session would probably be enough. But I don't tend to see a lot of those people. Yeah. It tends to be much more chronic stuff where the NHS can't help. It's reached its limit in terms of what it can do. And that's when people come to us.
Okay, right. And so, great. So, I mean, my next question was, how long does it take to work? But I guess like you've just answered that question, I think.
Usually people feel some benefit after one. The most common feedback I get from people after one session is that they feel calmer and that they sleep better. Regardless of what it is they've come in for treatment for, they feel that. So whether you've come in for pain or for insomnia or whatever it is, they will feel the benefit after one. But it takes a while for that to stick, if you like. So you'll feel better, and then you'll quickly go back to your old patterns. Then you have another session, and you feel better, and so on and so forth until we get to the point where it's stuck.
I get that. Oh, my last question. Does it get results? So I feel like, again, you've kind of answered it, but I wrote the question down. Does it get results? Like,
yes.
Are there any people that come back and say it doesn't work or it didn't work or anything like that? Or
my understanding of the statistics is that 20% of the population would not respond to acupuncture in general. And I bought that research a while ago. And it's also why, I'm sure you had another question on your list about different systems that I use. So I have lots of different ways that I can approach acupuncture. So if one form isn't working, we can then try another one.
Tell me about that a little bit then.
So there's different acupuncture, sort of how I practice is over 3,000 years old. That's a lot of history in there. That's a lot of different doctors developing their own little techniques. You think if you go to, some GPs are really good at, I don't know, mental health issues. Some GPs are really good at, we all have our own little kind of specialisms and ways in which we go. Yeah. And all those doctors over all those years have all developed their own little systems. So you can pick up bits of different systems. So I think I'm fully trained in 9 systems now. All using needles, but all using very slightly different techniques. The most recent one that I've done, which was just at the weekend there, is actually just all about doing spinal work. So there wouldn't be any points anywhere other than along the spine.
Right.
So it's a new one for me, that one. So I need to do some practicing of that one before I roll it out as as a kind of other option for people. Yeah. So there's lots of different.
It's like you've got your own kind of acupuncture toolkit of a range of techniques and approaches you can use depending on the person. And like you said, getting to the root of the problem and thinking about how does each technique maybe okay. So I know, because we've got just a couple of minutes left, so I am going to ask you one more question. And the question is, what's the most important question that I haven't asked you about acupuncture that you would want to know your group about?
What would I want people to know about acupuncture? Probably the biggest thing you've not asked is about level of qualification, actually. In the UK, acupuncture is not statutory regulated, which in theory means anyone can say they do acupuncture. And that means there's lots of different levels of course and levels of qualification. The scariest one I've ever seen was a 12-week online. So putting needles in, although it's not particularly painful and it can have a huge impact, if you're not doing it right, you can do some serious harm. So my biggest thing that you've not asked would be to check their level of qualification. Do not be afraid to ask. Make sure they're registered with somebody like the British Acupuncture Council. Check the level of regulation. So I'm voluntary regulated. I have done a degree in the subject. So I've got a Bachelor of Science in Acupuncture, and that included 3,000 hours of clinical time. So in person, treating people, observing treating people, etc., etc., etc. I've also done a stint in China, but that's kind of above and beyond. But that would be my thing, is check their qualification. You can do a lot of massage therapists and other professionals do 2 days training in acupuncture, because that's the minimum that insurers will cover people for. And for me, that's not enough.
So the expectation then, because I feel much more like I have a growth mindset about this now. I feel much more open, and my new story is, I'd be up for acupuncture as a way of supporting, any of my emotional or physical health needs in the future. What's the expectation of what I should look for then in a practitioner? Like, what's the level? So you're saying that they're registered with the British Association,
British Acupuncture Council.
Because so the letters actually done tons of hours and practical.
Yes, 3,000 hours minimum. 3,000 hours minimum and a degree equivalent. There's other ones as well. The British Acupuncture Council is kind of regarded as the highest in the UK, and their response to COVID, it's been lovely actually. The way they've responded in terms of dealing with the COVID pandemic, councils have actually asked for our information and our guidelines so that they can roll that out to them, because we have gone so far above and beyond what many other organisations have done.
Yeah, that's very reassuring. I'm a big fan of quality assurance and quality standards. I'm quite a stickler about those things, actually. So yeah, it is the kind of thing that I would want to ask, but I wouldn't know what to ask. But now I feel really confident that you've shared with me this is what you would be looking for, and I think that makes a big difference to people, doesn't it? So thank you so much, because
thank you.
Like,
it's very helpful for me.
That you're afraid to ask, or you feel silly asking, and you've made it really easy and comfortable and accessible for me to ask you some really key questions that, you know, have been on my mind about acupuncture. So thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you. We shall sign off on that, everybody. There was one other question that snuck in, actually, and I think I've answered it in terms of acupuncture helping neurological. And the gist is, the short answer is yes, absolutely. So anything from that. They'd asked about sort of the mental health aspect of neuro, actually. So depression, anxiety, PTSD. Yes, is the short answer. I just remembered that from the question.
What was that question?
The question was specific to, does acupuncture help with neurological conditions like depression, anxiety, and PTSD? Were the questions, and the short answer is yes.
Brilliant.
It's always yes, but yeah, there we go. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.